Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
For centuries, ancient cultures knew the secrets to longevity, vitality, and healing. Now, modern science is catching up. Ageless Blueprint is a podcast that will reveal the modern secrets of better health and a better life. Join Dr. Eldred Taylor here today and every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on W4HC Radio at W4HC.com. As together we discover the secrets to better health through science and spirituality. A better life with Ageless Blueprint starts now. Here's your host, Dr. Eldred Taylor.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Dr. Taylor. I am the hormone doctor and I am the spiritual MD. So you see, I'm in a special place today. I'm in my study and I'm here in a special place because I have a special guest. I always wanted him to be one of my first guests. You know why? Because the only reason I'm doing this podcast, the only reason I started Ageless Blueprint, the only reason I am like revigorated at age 65 is because of this little young guy that I saw on YouTube, just randomly clicked on this guy's video and I looked at every video he had and I said, one day I'm going to meet this guy because this guy has changed my life for the better. He's changed my career. He's helped me change my relationship with my wife and my kids. And it sounds crazy, okay? How can this, I don't know how old he is. He's 28 years old. He's younger than my kids. And this guy has the wisdom that goes way beyond his age. And that's one of the things I want to tell you guys. You got to be open. You can't be so conservative and think that you know everything. Let me tell you, your kids can teach you something. They can teach you how to survive in this digital crazy world that we have. And so let me stop talking. So I want you to meet this guy. His name is Quazi Johir. Please bring him up. I can't tell you how excited I am to have him on my show. So look at this young guy. Okay. How old are you, man? How old are you?
I'm going to be 29 this year.
Oh my God. And so I met him 2 years ago. So he was like 27. And
Yeah.
I started watching him, and then my wife started watching him, and he's like, "Who is this kid?" And so we both went out there to meet him. He had a mastermind. We went out there to meet him. We met his wife. We met some other people, and that intro that you see me going to Egypt. You know why? Because he told me to get over my fears, and he said just go and discover. And I went to Egypt. It's unbelievable. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Just introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do and how you got me to this point. Okay.
Hey, awesome, man. All right, doctor.
Mhm.
Thank you for the introduction, man. God bless the day I met you.
Yeah.
So my
So
name is Quazi.
we feel the same, but okay, go ahead. Mhm.
Yeah, no, I mean, dude, my name is Quazi Johir. I run a company called realitycreator.com. I'm very active on YouTube mostly. We have over 900,000 subscribers. It's just my name, Quazi Johir. And since 2019, I've been working with entrepreneurs, business owners, really people from all different walks of life who want to take their performance, their income and their lives really to the next level. And what they've been finding is no amount of tactic or strategy, what if action is actually doing it. They have this invisible ceiling, whether it's for their revenue, whether it's for their relationship, whether it's for their health. And they've just feeling like they've been stuck in life and the traditional solutions have not worked. And, that's really what we do is we go underneath the surface to see why you behave the way that you do. And what I've discovered through my work together is with so many clients, with over 2,000 clients, is it's not there's three main paradigms that you live through. There is the having paradigm, which is the physical manifestation of the outcome that you see, which is linearly caused by the doing paradigm, a level above that, which is the actions that you take. If you want to become healthy and fit, you take the action of going to the gym and eating healthy, right? However, there's a reason why for some people it's easier to stay with your routine and stay consistent, whereas other people easily fall off. What determines that? It's how you view yourself, the being level, the identity, right? If I view myself to be the kind of person who shows up at the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday for at least 30 minutes, then it's much easier for me to do that. And it would feel unnatural for me to not do that. So my work always has been, and because in my life, I've only seen permanent change happen when I shifted at the identity level, my work primarily has been, how can we take someone who has viewed themselves, and especially in your case, Dr. Taylor, you've been viewing yourself one particular way for 6 decades, right? For a very, very long time, it's become deeply instilled within you that this is just the way that I am. This is the character I've been given through childhood, my upbringing, what I've seen, my parents say, my religious conditioning. How can we take someone from there to really just stepping into a completely new chapter in their lives and just owning that this is my true calling in life? Because when you get to that age and you've been living someone else's definition of what your life should be like, you always feel like there is something missing. You always feel like, this is wonderful, this is great. However, this isn't my truest expression of what I actually want to experience in my life. And so it has been wonderful to see you, after you've been doing all this work and then actually taking action, going out there, exploring and starting this. It's been phenomenal because I can literally feel a shift in your energy, right? It's a lot more expansive. It's a lot more open. It's not trapped. It's not like, So you're coming from a place of force anymore. You're coming from a place of power, of expansiveness, of giving, right? And you can truly give when your cup is full. When your cup is full, it overflows and fills up the cups of others. Whereas most people, especially in religious conditioning, they've been taught, okay, deny yourself and try to serve others, which then creates this resentment and conflict within your psyche. So that's what I've been doing for the last 7-8 years, is working with people to help them really live a life that they truly wanted to live and align their identity in congruence with that, so they don't feel like there is this internal conflict happening all the time. And honestly, we see that once we do that, the money, the success, and all of those things, they become a byproduct. The having is a byproduct. It's kind of like tipping the domino. When you tip the most important domino, the rest of the structure will tip. Whereas most people try to tip the last domino, and they keep the rest of the dominoes just stacked without touching them, right? So I've always believed, like, if you have, like you're a doctor, like if you have any kind of ailment, instead of patching a Band-Aid on it or taking some acetaminophen or paracetamol, right, some Advil, you actually get to the root cause and solve the issue that's giving you the headache. And then as soon as I've seen it with my wife when we started working together. My wife's life, family life, completely changed. Ever since my son was born. So I'm sure we'll get into that in a.
Yeah. So, hey, Rebel, is it he's cutting out every once in a while? Is that on our end or his?
Neither. I see him fine.
Okay, all right. Well, I heard his voice cut out for a minute, but Quasi, here's the first thing you taught me, is that you have to be, do, then you have.
Yeah.
And you can't. Most people have, do, and then they believe. But no, you have to be. So why would you say? Because that's the core thing, and that's what I had to tell myself. Hey, look, I am a content creator. I can do these podcasts. I can spread. I had to say I can do a podcast. I can do this. I can go travel. I had to be the person who does that. Then it told me what to do. Just like at the gym, I wanted to change. I wanted to be physically fit. I am physically fit. Okay, what do? I go to the gym 3 times a day. It's habit. I schedule everything around that. When she said that she was available at 4 o'clock yesterday, no, that's my gym schedule. I don't change that for anyone. Okay, in the morning I meditate. That never changes. Okay, so did I used to meditate? No, but I knew to become something else, I had to change the inside, not the outside. And I never even really promoted meditation in my practice until I started using it, and I see how powerful it is when you discover yourself. It's amazing. And when you're talking about your cup, when it's full, it overflows. I started listening to you. I changed. What happened? It overflowed into my wife. It overflowed into my kids. It overflowed into my practice. But I had to fill my cup first. So
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. You know, man, I've been going to church. My dad's been a Baptist minister,
Yeah.
and I'm going to tell you, this is what I would say. You can't look for that missing piece on the outside. You got to look for the missing piece on the inside.
Hmm.
And being a doctor in medicine, that sounds crazy because they want you to take things from the outside. They want you to take a pill. They want you to take a surgery. They want you to do a procedure. No, your health starts in here. And we're going to talk about going up a step higher biologically, where the highest step is stress. It's not your low libido, it's not your gaining weight,
Yep.
it's your stress. Okay, so we can talk about that. But anyway, why don't you? So I've told people how you have helped me tremendously. So
Yep.
I feel like you have changed my identity, and my biology was okay. But here's what I think you've discovered is that if your biology is chaotic, it's very, very hard to change your identity. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I think, I told him, I don't want you on this podcast until I can help you as much as you've helped me. So we
Yeah.
delayed this for a long time, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And I
100%.
said, and so I'll just say this, and you can tell me, you can tell it how it affects. So when we went, my wife and I went to his mastermind, and I think your kid was like a year and a half or
Hmm.
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So his wife came, and we could just see how how she was acting, that she was overwhelmed.
Hmm.
She really didn't, I thought, hey, look, here's his wife. She couldn't do it. I mean, I could see she came and she went, and we left because we've seen this for 30 years. I said, you know what? His wife is having some postpartum issue, and she's overwhelmed.
Yep.
And so I told Quasi, I said, I think I can help you. The stress of a new baby, you got a new thriving business. I'm not sure exactly what your wife did, but I'm
Yep.
just telling you, hey man, I think we can help her if we do a saliva test.
Yep.
So he finally convinced her to do it, and then I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah. So initially, we wanted to do something with hormones because she was really struggling with weight issues. Also like in the morning, not sleeping in, and then at nighttime staying up really really late, appetite issues, like just everything was just flipped around. And also like just being irritable, like I've noticed a lot of irritability, and we were just getting into a lot of fights. And it came to a point where it was just like, I personally, just being fully vulnerable, I was like, maybe this is just how it's going to be for the rest of my life. Maybe I just suck it up and this is how it's going to be, right? So
Yes.
we were interested in the hormone stuff because I'd heard like hormone, like from everyone, like, hey, if you're struggling to get back into the shape that you once were, especially postpartum, or you feel different, then you really want to get your hormones checked. And we'd not done anything like that, right? And so then this guy comes into my life as though by magic, OBGYN hormone expert, literally you can't make this shit up, right? Like literally right at the right time. The right person shows up in your life and he's like, hey, I think we can help your wife. I'm like, oh, I'm definitely interested. And the way when you explain saliva testing versus just like doing a simple blood test, especially when we're talking about things like testosterone, estrogen, the way that you explain it really made sense, because a lot of people, they do a blood test for testosterone, but testosterone, the blood is the carrier, right? It's actually stored in the muscles or the organs. That's where it's being used. And so when you do a saliva test, you actually get different periods of the day when the levels are different. Because, I can do a blood test, and if you catch me at the right time, my testosterone might look high. But if you catch me at the wrong time, then we won't get a complete picture of what it's looking like, in accordance with my circadian rhythm, right? So when we did that test, it was very, very surprising for us to find that, hey, my wife's cortisol was super low in the morning and super high at nighttime. And that's a big issue as to why, like, you don't feel awake in the morning. And she would, like, when we started doing the treatments that you suggested, she was telling me how, like, hey, sometimes I would drive in the morning and literally fall asleep behind the wheel, because, and that's really dangerous, right? That's really,
Yeah.
especially when she's with Avi. So,
Mhm.
she would notice that, and it would make her really frustrated, because she would want to do all of these things in the morning, but she just wouldn't be able to physically move herself. And also just being super, super irritable in the morning, like not tolerating, because, my son's like, kids are super active in the morning. And at nighttime, we was like there was a point where we were sleeping in separate beds because she likes to stay up really, really late. And I like to go to bed early. And it's like, it kind of interrupts me. I actually got this idea from you. Kind of interrupts me, you know? Because, you kind of made it okay for me to do something like that, because at first I was like, hey, maybe this isn't okay. Like maybe this is weird. The husband and wife should always sleep in the same bed. But then I figured like, hey, the doc has been married for like 40 years, like 30, 40 years, and he's doing it, and they have a really great marriage. Maybe this is something that would help me. And it definitely helped because I was getting better sleep. But now we notice we go to bed at the same time, and because we do that, our bond is stronger too. But we go to bed at the same time, and we wake up early, and she's like a lot more energetic now early, especially the cortex and the adrenocare. That's been helping with hormones a lot. And I literally messaged you a week ago or something, and I was like, dude, what did you drug my wife with? Like, she's so much happier and calmer and more relaxed. Whereas we would get into like a very serious fight like every 3 days or so. It would just be like over something really, really stupid, really, really trivial.
Yeah.
And it would just like, it would bring a lot of stress into our family life. So that has completely changed. And, you talked about the biology versus like identity.
Right.
An analogy I can think of is like, hey, positive thinking and lowering your stress helps a lot. But if you're living in a radioactive area, right? You're living in a nuclear radioactive zone. There is literally no point if the fundamentals are not taken care of. And the fundamentals for biology are like the way I teach our clients is there's 4 main things, right? There is your environment, your physical and your social environment. There is food, nutrition. There is and there is your sleep. Right? These are the 4 main things that will really make a change in your life. Maybe I'm missing a couple. Maybe sunlight or something, but that comes to environment. So if these fundamental things are not taken care of, then you can't get to the next level and talk about like your identity and consciously taking inventory of your mind, because there is the Holy Trinity everywhere. There is the mind, body, and spirit, right?
Spirit.
You can't get to mind if you don't take care of the body first. There's no point.
Exactly.
If you don't take care of the mind, there is no getting to spirit and connecting to God, right? And so there is like levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If your basic survival and physical isn't taken care of, you're not thinking about actualization. That's not happening. Like, you can't get to spiritual maturity if your base needs are not even taken care of. So these, I feel like, especially in this modern day and age, this is very, very neglected. Like our basic physical needs are very, very neglected, but not just neglected. It's also very misunderstood, right? That's
the key. It's misunderstood because it's not being tested appropriately.
Exactly.
These people have all these issues, and they go in and get a blood test. The blood test says that they're normal, and then they still have all these issues, and then they get frustrated. They get scared because they think that they're going to live like that for the rest of their lives, just like what you said. So that causes even more stress. And so what we're talking about is this hierarchy is we have to measure and we have to balance a person's stress, because here's how I look at it. My biology was okay, so you helped me change my identity. We changed your wife's biology, and now her true identity returned. The woman you married, now, hey, her identity is back because her hormones changed her personality, and you like, who the heck did I marry? Okay, you're like, is this what better or for worse is really about? Am I going to have to be worse for the rest of my life? And see, I'm 65, he's 29. I've been there, done that. That was the exact same issue with my wife. She was screaming at my kids. She was screaming at me 2 weeks before her period. And I was like, I'm an OBGYN. What am I going to do? I can't live like this. And I had a patient who came in and asked me if I knew about saliva testing and progesterone. I didn't understand it. My wife actually listened to an audio tape and said, this guy is talking about me. And so I went in to investigate it. And you see how, Quasi, you really explained my whole philosophy in about 2 minutes. And so in medical school, we were taught see one, do one, teach one. I would see a hysterectomy done, I would do a hysterectomy, then I would teach a lower level resident. I'm trying to have hormone clarity follow the same thing. I want you to see what is going on. I want you to do what needs to be done. And then I want you to teach somebody. See, he's going to teach all his clients, hey, man, I know why you why you keep messing up trades, because you're stressed and your frontal lobe is off. So all your logic is gone and you're only functioning off of emotion.
Yeah.
When you are stressed, you always are emotional. You can't logically decide anything. You just react.
Yeah.
So the stock goes down, sell.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. Yeah.
stock goes up, yay, I got money. So,
Yeah.
and you do this roller coaster. And so that's why I'm saying, if you I think that if you're doing anything that you're dealing with behavior change, you gotta do the fundamentals. I
Yeah.
don't care what it is. So
Mhm.
that's my thought, Quasi. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, it's super interesting we talk about this too, because I do feel like biology and identity are interlinked, right? So your attitude towards life actually affects your hormone levels. I don't know how much you agree with that, because I've
Oh,
seen
oh,
people, right? Like I've seen people who have, like, with low testosterone, they're like, oh, I don't have the drive to do anything. I don't have the motivation to do anything. And then they start going on TRT. The testosterone level gets really, really healthy and they feel a little bit better, but they still have the same, like nothing really changes for them energetically. And that's,
yeah,
again, your attitude, right? It's because you never
yeah,
made a conscious effort to change your attitude, to shift your attitude along with it. So it's
yeah,
like, you can take something. It's like, you get your muscles rehab, but you're not using it, right? What's the
right,
point?
right,
You're like doing rehab, but you're not using the muscle itself. It's not going to strengthen itself. So there is
yeah,
an interdependent relationship between the mental and the physical, because the mind and the
yeah,
body, like you meant, there's a placebo effect, right? As soon
yeah.
as we actually like invested in this journey of doing saliva testing and doing the hormone testing, I messaged you immediately after. I'm like, we haven't even started doing it. And my wife feels different. She feels more hopeful that her situation is going
Hey,
to change just out of having one conversation with you. Right. And
yeah,
that attitude itself is what will affect, what will immediately change, like your predisposition
yeah,
changes and your hormones immediately get
right.
affected as a result. Right.
Exactly. Because, I think I told you, and I tell every new patient that comes in my office, is that 50% of my job is to get you to understand what's going on with you. Is one, to let you know that I understand and
Yeah.
then help you to understand, because that immediately decreases the stress level. I've had patients come in because they couldn't sleep at night, thinking that they had a brain tumor. Because everybody, kept saying they didn't know what was going on. So she thought she had a brain tumor. She had a high nighttime cortisol, just like your wife. But
Mm,
she's 60 years old, so she's thinking about cancer. Your wife is, 26, 27. She's
yeah.
not really thinking about cancer, but she just doesn't know why she can't take care of her child like she wants to. Because I'm sure she didn't want to be like that.
Yeah.
There's no way she wanted to be like that, but
Definitely.
she couldn't help herself because her hormones were out of whack. And that's why I'm saying a lot of the things that you do and you don't know why you do them, it can be hormonally based. And let me talk about men and testosterone. And so you see that your wife's major issue, even though she was 27 years old, was cortisol, right?
Hmm.
A lot of men who walk into a doctor's office and they complain of fatigue or can't sleep, they immediately get put on testosterone without being tested.
Hmm.
A lot of those guys that I see who have been on testosterone for years, two things happen. If you look at the blood, you don't see that the tissue is actually saturated and your receptors have down regulated. So now the higher your blood testosterone goes, the lower the effectiveness of it is. Okay, because the only way the hormone gets out of the tissue into the blood is when the tissue is so saturated that the force sends them back into a unnatural environment. So the only way you can get the blood level up is by oversaturating the tissue. I had a guy who had been on it for 6 or 7 years. His blood testosterone was 1,000, but he had no libido, no drive, and no erectile. I mean, he had erectile dysfunction, and
Damn.
his blood
That's
count was going.
1,000 testosterone?
Yes, because
That's
he had been on it for
insane.
so long, he had become desensitized to it. See, if
Uh,
you give your body too much for too long, your body knows this is too much. I've got to pull back my. That's how all cocaine addiction. You know
yeah.
what that is? What happens is your body gets desensitized. The dopamine receptors get desensitized, so it takes more and more to get less and less of a result.
Right.
Hormones can do the same thing. Okay, it's the same way with estrogen. Even if you take too much progesterone, it will start to not work. So
Right.
always got to look at cortisol. And you would think, how can a 26, 27-year-old have a like a low cortisol, it's cumulative stress. I don't know what your wife's been through. I know her mother had gotten sick, and
Mhm.
the stress of a baby and all those things. And so I don't care how old you are, you can screw up your hormones. You can screw up your hormones early, you can screw up your hormones late. But the thing is, you just need to know that that's what the issue is. It's not some mysterious thing that's going on, even though there's been a lot of confusion about it. So anyway, so that's kind of how we intertwined. And I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that I try to teach my people what I learned from you.
Yeah.
You're trying to teach your people what you've learned from me.
Yeah.
And I think it is such an interconnection, that you cannot change your reality if your basic hormones are screaming chaos. And this is what I've learned is when you're under stress, you you think inwardly. I mean, you don't worry about what might be happening or whatever. You're just trying to survive day by day.
Mhm.
But then as you begin to lower your stress level, you start to be able, like you said, be expansive.
Mhm.
Because I'll tell you, uh Quasi was telling me about how you have to be anti-fragile. That's another thing you told me, is
Yeah.
you have to live your life anti-fragile. So I can't let what my wife says to me break me down. I can't let what some other person I have to be anti-fragile. And the other thing you taught me, I'm gonna tell you all his little things. He told me that you should live your life in a meditative state. I don't know if you really, is that you should always, how you calm your brain down with meditation. That's how
Mhm.
you should live your life. And see, I was brought up is that it says you should pray without ceasing. I
Yeah.
believe what that really means is you should be in a prayerful, meditative state
Yo.
without ceasing. What
Mm.
what what is your thought about that?
Yeah, so the first time I learned this was when we like look at why we perform certain actions, right? Like when you meditate in the morning, the whole goal of doing that action is to become one with the thing, the object itself, right? When
Hmm.
subject and object become one. So in ancient yoga, there is this talk of like the word yoga translates to union, right? The whole point of yoga is to become one with divine. So when we meditate, the whole goal is to become meditative. When we pray, is to become prayerful, right? So
Hmm.
we are trying to become one with the quality itself. So a lot of people, when they meditate, they think it's the 20 minutes of their day that they're just spending quietly. However, the whole purpose of doing that action, that practice, is so that you can take that state on, the state of being on, and carry it on for the rest of your day, for the rest of your life, right? So that's the
Right.
whole point of performing any kinds of action. Like when you exercise, you're trying to get into that energetic state of health, of fit, and you carry that state, the state of being that comes with exercising, which is that state of discipline, the state of pushing yourself to the last rep, right? Pushing
Hmm.
yourself past your limit. That's the
Right.
quality like that we're trying to become one with. So that's what I
Hmm.
feel is like any action, the highest form of the action is the embodiment of the state of being, right? So when we talk
Hmm.
about the having, doing, being paradigm, we're always beginning at that being and trying our closest and our best to stay at the being. And then we focus on, if I were this person, what would I do and how would I do it? If I were the
Yeah.
kind of person who's healthy and fit, what would I do? I would go to the gym 3 days a week. I would eat healthy. And so when you're thinking about cheating on your meal, you're like, this feels unnatural. All of the gains and everything that I work for.
Hmm.
If I view myself as the kind of fit person, I wouldn't be engaging in this behavior. Of course, you have the occasional cheat meal, you reward yourself, whatever. But most of the time, you stick to how you've chosen to view yourself, how you've chosen to carry yourself. So that's personally what I believe. Like the purpose of action is to become one with the thing that you're doing.
Yeah. So it's time for a break, but when we come back, I want to discuss this last. This is the real thing that changed my life when you told me you have to get over your biggest fear.
Yeah.
And I got over that one fear, and that made me not be fearful to go to Egypt. And you don't know this, I may have told you, we went gorilla tracking for the silverback gorillas in Uganda. Did I tell you that?
You didn't tell me about the gorilla tracking. No,
Oh
I
man,
know about
that's just
Uganda. I know about
okay.
Ghana too. Ghana as well, right?
Yeah, we went to Ghana. So then we went to Uganda to do gorilla tracking. And so me and my wife, we climbed up a 10,000-foot mountain. It took us 4 hours.
Damn.
We both didn't think we were going to make it. So we get out there, we saw the gorillas, and then we had to do 4 hours back down. We started at 7 in the morning. We didn't get back down to 7 at night. Now,
Damn.
would I do it again? Heck no. Am I glad I did it?
Yeah.
Yes, because man, we got down there the next day. We were like, can you believe we did this? Do you know how old we are? We
Yeah.
did this. Okay. And then my wife just said yesterday, she said, you know what? I have so much more confidence in the gym now because if I got through that,
Yeah.
I can increase the amount of weight I lift. And this
Yeah.
is all doing, we're not 30 years old, you guys. And I'm telling you, I check my body composition. I'm gaining muscle mass. My trainer can't believe that at my age, I'm increasing my muscle mass and
Wow.
I'm decreasing my visceral fat just because I said I am going to be healthy. And that is my persona. Even in the office, they wonder, how can you maintain your weight? I am healthy. That's who I am.
Yes.
Okay. And so that's my persona. But anyway, we got to take a 1 minute break and then we're going to talk about this getting over your biggest fear. Okay. All right.
We are going to a quick break, so stay with us as we explore the ageless blueprint right here on W4HC Radio and Talk4 TV. An ancient secret with a modern twist for better health and vitality. Dr. Taylor will be right back. Taking care of your health shouldn't mean taking a handful of pills every day. At Taylor MD Formulations, they create doctor-developed supplements that combine the best natural ingredients so you get the results you need with fewer pills. Taylor MD Formulations is backed by science, designed for real life with real results. Less pills, better health, doctor approved. Shop now at TaylorMDFormulations.com and discover smarter supplements for smarter health. That's TaylorMDFormulations.com. We are back for more of Ageless Blueprint. Once again, let's join Dr. Taylor for more insights and research on the ancient secret to better health and a better life in modern times. Here's your host, Dr. Eldred Taylor.
All right, we are back with my favorite guest. I haven't had any guests, but he's always going to be my favorite guest because I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for him. Let me just clear up two things. One, yes, this he put my business out on the street. I told him about sleeping in separate beds. It's not because me
Oh,
and my
my
wife
bad.
are mad at each other. It's not because me and my wife are mad at each other. Here's what happened. It's just like you. My wife likes to stay up late. I like to get up early.
Yeah.
So it used to cause so much conflict. Why don't you stop tapping on that computer so I can go to sleep? And then I would wake up and go and shave and all that stuff. And she's like, why are you waking me up? So it was like, all right,
Yeah.
look, let me just go downstairs and sleep. And this is what I say. Hey, look, for what married couples do, it doesn't take all night. Okay,
Yeah.
so okay, so you can be together and do what married couples do, and you kiss and you cuddle and say, "All right, baby, I'm going to sleep." All right, it works. You
Yeah.
know, now you are sleeping together, but it works. It's worked for us. Okay,
Yeah.
so if there's a conflict in your two circadian in the your two circadian rhythms, hey, you adjust. That's what marriage is all about. It is about how are we going to get through this situation.
Yeah.
Okay, how are you going to get through this postpartum thing that you're going through? Well, hey, we're a team. I'm going to help you figure it out. So, hey, saw me, he went to his wife. And let me tell you, Quasi, did you tell your wife that you think it's a hormone problem? Because that will start a fight.
Uh,
I mean,
sometimes
when
I
you
do.
first started, because
Yeah.
I knew it took you like 2 or 3 months to get her to do it. I
Yeah.
said, oh, he told her it's her hormones. Because let me tell you, I made the same mistake. My wife and I told her, "Hey, I think it's your hormone." Oh, she went off on me. Now, she could say, "I think it's my hormones," but you can't say it. Okay, when you
Right. Right.
say it, it's
Right.
going to start a fight. So I knew I didn't pressure you. I said, "It's been
Yes.
three
Give me
months and
some
still
time,
hadn't
man.
done
I'm
it."
working on it. Give me some time.
So
You just,
I'm
you just
telling you,
create
hey, look,
little
I've
messages.
been there. Yeah. All right. So hey, we want to talk about the biggest fear. So let me tell you what happened. He told me you got to get over your biggest fear. So here was my biggest fear. I like to look at the ocean, but I didn't want to swim in the ocean. If it was above here, I was fearful. And I really think it was my mother. My mother was scared of water. She didn't like, so she imprinted that on me. I'm 60 something years old. So I'm like, okay, that's my biggest fear. So you know what I did? I said, I'm going to go take a scuba diving lesson. And I just decided on my own, I'm going to do it. So I told my wife and my daughter, and they were scared to death. They said, you know, you're scared of water. Don't do it. I said, look, I'm taking this program. I got to get over my biggest fear. I went and did a scuba diving lesson just in a pool. And we did it. We practiced and all that stuff. I will tell you, when I came up out of that water, it was like heaven shone down on me. Said, you did it. You got over your biggest fear. So here was my second biggest fear. I can't leave my office for more than a week. I had the scarcity mentality. And we decided, hey, screw it. We're taking 3 weeks off. I'm going to Egypt. We've gotten interested in Kemetic spirituality and how did the ancient Egyptians, how did they learn about nature and God and all that stuff. So we went there. Since then, we've been to Ghana, we've been to Uganda, we've been all over the place because I got over that biggest fear. So just talk about fear and what that does to people, okay?
Yeah, so fear is a very, very interesting emotion. It's the most primitive emotion, right? It's the most
Hmm.
primitive feeling because and you'll notice that fear is what organizations like, the ones that you see, they want to keep you in that state so that they can control
Hmm.
you. In fear, it's the easiest to control you. You look at the news, what's the most prevalent emotional sense of feeling that you feel? Fear. You don't see
Hmm.
good news being promoted as much as bad news, right? So there are four
Hmm.
different states that society, or the pendulums or egregores, whatever you want to call them, that frequency is what they're trying to keep you in, and that is fear, anger, pride, and guilt/shame, right?
Hmm.
These are the four feelings that they want to keep you in, because then they can mobilize you and control you. People go to war over really, really stupid shit. Sometimes you're in you're in a crowd or something and you see this riot happening. And sometimes when you actually ask people after the fact, like, hey, why did you go out and do this? Like, because within the riot, something will happen and it will trigger like a cascade of events. But because emotions are running really high, people become unconscious in that feeling. So these lower level feelings actually make us more and more unconscious. But then the higher level feelings, and creator of this, I'm not the founder of this, this was talked about by David R. Hawkins, who created a scale of consciousness, where he said the neutral level is the level of courage. Okay. When you have courage, you're basically breaking out of that state of perpetual fear, right? The level of 200, he created a logarithmic scale from 0 to 1,000. 0 is like apathy, guilt, where you have no energy available to do anything whatsoever. And the highest level is 1,000, that is achievable in energy level in the human domain, the level at which Jesus Christ, Zoroaster, all of the highest avatars that they resided in. And then there's levels above that, which the archangels and the angels reside in, the levels of 50,000 whatsoever. And God is the level of infinity, like infinite energy. But typically, 200 is that neutral level where you actually go from force to power. When you go from the linear domain to slightly non-linear domain, where these magical things start to happen in your life, right? So you've probably noticed when you live in a different state of energy, a different level of energy, a lot of these ineffable things start to happen in your life that just couldn't logically be explained. It's beyond the linear realm. So the level, the fear is roughly around the level of 120, maybe 150 or 100. And that is the level at which you can be mobilized. It's not too low where you become apathetic to life and you can't do anything. And it's not high enough that you can wake up and act against it. It is just at that right
Hmm.
you can be controlled. So when we stay stuck in that energy of fear, fear can be a compass, because when we think about doing the things that we need to do, when we feel fear and our minds kind of convince us not to do it, for example, maybe you've been thinking about starting a podcast or going online, you've been thinking, what's the point? I'm not good on camera. I have all of these fears about showing up publicly and humiliating myself and the reputation that I've created. These
Hmm.
voices are basically the voices that have allowed you to become successful at this life, but
Hmm.
it's outside the zone of comfort for the life that you want to live. So
Yeah.
there is this current reality in which you are, but then there's another reality that is uncomfortable, basically outside the zone of your comfort. However, a lot of the times, that thing that you're afraid of is the thing that is in alignment with your desire. So fear and desire are two different sides of the same coin. So if you have a desire to move your life forward, to have more of a reach like you did and reach more people and basically serve more people, but then when you start thinking only about yourself and not what you can actually achieve, you think about my little self and, oh no, what if I humiliate myself? What if this actually goes sideways and I, attract something negative that destroys my business, maybe from the board or the medical authorities, et cetera, right? So these are all rational fears that prevent you from risking what you've got. There comes a very special point in someone's life, in a man's life and a woman's life. Typically, it's right around the end of their 30s, 40s, 50s, or even 60s. This is, people call this the midlife crisis, where they come to a point where they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. They're living a life that is, they're stagnating, they're not growing, and they're noticing that the only thing that's preventing them from taking things to the next level is fear, right? Fear is what's blocking them from going from here to here. And so the only way to overcome fear, just like you did, is to go through it. There is no skirting around fear, right? The only way you can overcome the things that you're afraid of is literally just going headfirst into it to show yourself that there is actually nothing to be afraid of, right? So for a lot of people who invest and trade, they're afraid of drawdown, right? They're afraid of losing money. But then as soon as they lose money, they're like, oh, that was it? Wow, I'm no longer afraid anymore. And that's why you see people actually losing money before they make money, right? Because they need to appetite what it's like to be losing a decent chunk of money before they make their rise and make a ton of money, right? So that's why a lot of people, when they lose money, they start panicking, especially beginner investors. They start panicking and they start second guessing themselves, and then they make these emotional decisions. But when you're no longer afraid of losing, you can play to truly win, right? You're not living life closed off. So fear is what makes you live life in a closed manner, where you say, I will accept some parts of life and reject other parts of life. But when you open your heart truly, you are no longer giving into this fear. You accept the possibility of failure, right? You accept the possibility that the worst case scenario can come to life, but that's okay. That's just how life is. It's kind of like saying hey, I would love to experience true love and partnership, but I'm too afraid to get hurt. So I'm not going to put myself out there fully. I'm only going to put myself out there partially. But you don't rise in love, you fall in love. There's a reason that expression exists, right? You fall in, you become truly vulnerable. You open yourself up. The other person literally has the power to completely destroy you, right? Your partner knows shit about you that she could completely destroy you, but you trust her with it. And that's what makes it so beautiful, right? So when you fall in love with life, you kind of, stand naked in front of life. Hey, this is me stripped of any kind of defense that I have. I am one with life. You can only become one when you strip yourself of any kind of resistance, of any kind of fear, and you truly just live in a state of pure vulnerability. I learned this from Brene Brown, the concept of vulnerability, the power of vulnerability, making yourself vulnerable. Because when you make yourself vulnerable, you open yourself up, right? And there is something really, really attractive about people who are just truly vulnerable. They don't have a front. They're not trying to present a particular character. They just are the way that they are, and they own it, right? And even if, they ruffle some feathers, the people who love them truly love them, and the people who hate them truly hate them. But I think that's a lot better than having everyone just feel neutral about you,
Right. So, when you talk about opening yourself up, I told you this about my relationship with my wife. Even though we've been married 40 years, you taught me I had to open up emotionally. I'm not afraid to cry. You did an interview with me and I started crying. Okay. And my wife calls me weepy now. But we are so much more emotionally connected because I opened up. Our relationship got better. One of the things that I said was my goal when going through his course is I wanted my wife and I to really experience true love together. And that's after we had been married for 38 years. This was 2 years ago. And he taught me how to do that. It was open yourself up emotionally, be vulnerable is something very attractive about that. And now me and my wife, we express our love. I tell her every day I love her. Okay. And then this is another thing I said. People change, just like your wife changed. So you have to reestablish your love for that person every day because they're different today than they were yesterday. So
Yeah.
you got to love the new person. You got to love the postpartum woman. You've got to love the menopausal woman, the premenopausal woman. You have to establish that love and open yourself up every single day. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about, I had so many things that it was one. I'll think of it in a minute, but this is what talking about fear. So you're right. It took me about 4 or 5 months before I really did this podcast because a patient came in and told me, "You got to get on social media, Dr. Taylor. That's where the patients are. They're not in your office, they're out there." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Really?" And so I had to get over the fear of doing a podcast, getting on TikTok. I thought TikTok was where people did stupid dances. And I
Yeah.
do TikTok now, and that's where I get most of my leads from. So I
Yeah.
had to get over that fear, open myself up, do some things that you're a doctor and you're on TikTok. Yeah. What's wrong with it? I'm
Yeah.
trying to get a message out. So the other thing is, and we're getting close. The other thing is, I started reading this book called The Art of Impossible. Have you ever read that book?
No, I haven't. I'm gonna read it now.
Yeah, so the art of impossible. And what he talks about, he said, everybody thinks something is impossible until somebody does it. Okay, Roger Bannister, everybody talks about that.
Mhm.
Everybody thought you couldn't fly until the Wright brothers did it. Everybody thought you couldn't have an electric car until the Elon Musk did it. Okay, and then what happens? It keeps building. He said, so to do a big impossible, you have to do a lot of little impossibles and it will grow. So here's my big impossible. And I just came up with this yesterday because you know what you taught me about clarity. I got all of these quasi-isms, okay? He talking to me about clarity. And he said the only way you can know you're on the right path is you got to get on the path.
Yeah.
You get on the path, and then the path will tell you the next step. So I've
Yeah.
been on this path for 2 years trying to be clear about what I'm going to do. So I just came up with it really a couple of days ago. My big impossible is I want saliva testing to be as common as knowing when a person walks in the office and they want their blood pressure checked. They know that a blood pressure cuff is going to go around their arm. It's everybody knows that. Okay, if you want to see what your blood count is, what your hemoglobin, they know you're going to get stuck with a needle. I want people to say, if I want my hormones tested, I know I'm going to do a saliva test. And that doctor doesn't do it, I'm going to go somewhere else. Let me tell you, doctors change when the patients change. Why do the pharmaceutical companies say, ask your doctor about this drug? Because if enough people ask their doctor about the drug, he's going to start prescribing it because
Right.
it's supply and demand. It's not health and non-health. It's
It's,
supply and demand. It's a
it's a
business, you guys. It's a business.
yeah.
Okay, so if people start saying, no, I don't want a blood test. I've had people say they spent $1,000 on a blood test and it told them nothing. So I want to educate patients. I want to educate everybody. My big impossible is that sometime in the future, people everywhere know if I want my true answers and hormone clarity,
Mhm.
I need a saliva test. And I'm going to demand it. I just came out with this hormone clarity bill of rights. And it's a woman's bill of rights. You have the right to be tested appropriately. You have the right to understand your biology. You have the right to make your own decisions about your life. Okay, I'm getting into it now and I'm starting to preach. So I got to cut it back a little bit because we're almost done, Quasi. But that is my big impossible. And if I can keep that vision, I'm going to make it where you would already know, hey babe, you need a saliva test. Let me get it for you. Okay, since you don't need me, you already know. And like I said, you've been around me not as much as other people. You already got the concept.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a difficult concept for people to learn. And I say that you should have learned it in your fifth grade health class.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to teach you. I'm trying to teach people fifth grade health because women need to know about their biology. They're going to have their menstrual cycle is going to rule their whole life. It rules their puberty, it rules their puberductive life, it rules the end of life. You need to understand that whole cycle, and men need to understand it too, so they don't divorce their wives just because they're going through perimenopause. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many people have come back to me and said, I wouldn't have gotten divorced if I'd have had my hormones right. My husband's not so bad after all. And then they'll be friends after they get through perimenopause. Then they become friends. That's all, we're divorced, but yeah, we're friends now. It was just a stage in their lives.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if they had understood it, they would have gotten through it. That's
Yeah.
the only way me and my wife are married 40 years, because
Yeah.
we understood those transitions. So anyway, man, we are out of time. I can't tell you how excited I am to have this guy on my show. And hopefully, hey, hopefully we'll do some other things in the future. We'll just see what happens.
100%.
I love the unknown. I don't know what's going to happen from this, but I'm open to whatever. So Quasi, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't thank you enough for everything you've done for me. And I hope I can, if I've done a fraction for you of what you've done for me, I can somewhat be satisfied. All right. So hey, you guys, we'll see you next Wednesday. And I don't know what we're going to talk about next Wednesday, but it'll be me again, and I'll be in my regular place. Quasi, thanks again. See you guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining Dr. Taylor today. If you missed any part of this show, just check out the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Ageless Blueprint is every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on W4HC Radio at W4HC.com. Together, we discover the ancient secrets to better health through science and spirituality made for modern times. Until then, feel free to check out agelessblueprintpodcast.com and TaylorMDFormulations.com for more information.